everybody out there. Welcome back. This is Vince Papali along with my daughter Gabriella, and it's another episode of Gabbing with Invincible. And man, do we have a guest with the NFL season starting. Who better from the NFL Network and NFL Films, Brian Baldinger. I mean, this guy has been all over the NFL, just came back to NFL Films headquarters from the Jets training camp. So can't wait to talk about that. But welcome to the show, Brian. Great to have you with us. Good to see you, man. You look great.
I mean, I feel like, we were neighbors forever, Vince, when you were living in Cherry Hill. I remember Gabby when she was just like, she could barely walk, so I feel like I've been around the family, Vinny, the whole group for quite a while.
Yeah, I know, and then of course you went. Where did you go to high school? You didn't go to high school in Cherry Hill, did you?
No, I did not. But I did live in Cherry Hill when I was young. My dad worked at Boeing over in Philadelphia when I was I went to St. Peter Celestine right on, right, just right there in Cherry Hill. So, but I went to high school in Long Island, Massapequa, Long Island, Massapequa High School. So, yeah, me and my brothers, we all graduated from there.
Yeah, you moved around a little bit, huh?
Yeah, well, my dad was a service guy, so Naval Academy, Marines, some military.
So that's the connection with the Naval Academy. There you go.
Yeah, we did.
You have to tell us all about that. Just that Boeing thing. That's what my neighborhood was. That's where I grew up. My dad worked right next door at Westinghouse.
Yep. Well, if you just go down 95, Vince, you see all those companies that were there at that time.
You see a lot of things when you go down 95. We're down here in Jupiter, Florida, so we get it. So hey, let's get to it. This is going to be a lot of fun. And talk a little bit about, I guess right now, Gab, should we go up to the Jets training camp with Brian and what's going on? Specifically, I mean, who would care about a Jets training camp? But there's that one personality there that has changed the whole dynamic. And of course, it's Aaron Rodgers. So what's it like up there now? It must be insane.
It's an incredible buzz. It really is. I've been up there twice now since camp started. Of course, they're the focus of Hard Knocks this year. So I'm here at NFL Films. All my guys I know, cameramen, producers, they're all up there literally 24/7 with the Jets. They got their cameras and mics everywhere. But really, I mean, Aaron, he changes everything. They were 7-4 last year at one point, Vince. The quarterback play got terrible. A lot of injuries took place, and they collapsed. They lost their last 6 games in a row. And so they made the investment in Aaron. And really, I think it surprises people, honestly, Vince, and Gabby, because he literally has gone out of his way to meet everybody in the organization, whether it's secretaries, people in the travel department, people in, sales. I mean, he's literally shook hands, spent time talking to everybody. Everybody I know on their communications and their media team, he knows them all by first name. And not to mention the players who he seems to have really bonded with. Mm-hmm. And every player, whether it was Quentin Williams or Sauce Gardner or, Garrett Wilson, I mean, all of their young players have said just how much he's kind of reached out to them to get to know them. And let them know that, he's going to be there. He was there throughout the offseason, every practice, every day. And he's giving these tutorials out there in the field after almost every play.
Well, he can certainly do that. I mean, he's on the verge of being one of the GOATs anyway out there. Gabriella could probably talk a little bit about that relationship, Gabby, with your experience with the 76ers.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just a little bit shocked because I feel like the media kind of makes him out to be this bad guy and that he's not a team guy at all. And so to hear that he's gone out of his way to go and meet every single staffer, from bottom up, I think that actually speaks volumes to him. And it also kind of shows a little bit about that the media doesn't really necessarily know what the heck they're talking about because he seems like a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, well, I think he's got a lot to prove, Gabby. And you leave Green Bay and maybe not the best of terms, and people were saying, there was a schism in there between him and certain people. It's not worth going into, but I mean, I think his success in New York is his way of showing Green Bay, you're never going to, it's just, it's an ego. There's an ego there, but there's also his legacy. It's all tied to this. We have seen Matt Stafford leave Detroit, go to the Rams, win a Super Bowl. We saw Tom Brady leave his legacy in New England and go to Tampa and win a Super Bowl. I mean, he has watched all of this. And so, I think that's what he wants to do. He wants to show people that he has the ability to elevate everybody around him. And that's sort of the mantle of what a marquee and a franchise quarterback should do. And I think he's out to show people that he can do that.
Yeah, maybe he's like an opposite thing where he did something completely different in Green Bay. He's like, all right, let's turn around and do the opposite, see how it works out. But have you seen like the team really rally behind him and the fans? Like, have the fans been at the training camps? Do they keep them open? Like, what's that been like?
It was a zoo out there today, Gabby. It was great. I mean, the fans were, Jet fans. They're pretty starved the way we used to be, Vince.
Yeah,
Before
those days.
2017.
Right.
They're pretty starved. It's been well over 50 years. It's documented. I mean, they were pouring in. The practice started at 10:30. Fans were walking to the facility at 8:30 this morning when I was pulling up. There's 3,000 people out there pulling for Aaron. He made a number of throws today, like he did the other day, where you just go, not many guys can make this throw that's ever played the game. And he just knows where to go with the ball. He knows the offense. The offense coordinator is Nathaniel Hackett. They spent 3 years together in Green Bay. They're really united together. But the fans, they got the 8 jerseys on. The players, they really
Cool.
they go out of the way to tell you just the little things that he's teaching the defensive line, little things he's telling the defensive backs, what to look for, trends. Just the things you just get from being, in the league for 18 years. Like he's sharing that information where he thinks it can really help. Not that he's like doing the coach's jobs. He's not doing that, but he's just he's sharing his wisdom and experience
presence
with all the players.
Well, when he gets up there at the line of scrimmage and he's got that pre-snap look, I mean, there's probably nothing that he's seen over there that he hasn't seen before, and if he can teach that, as you know about anything, if you have situational awareness, keenness of what's going on, and that ability to have that, and also the connection, especially with your receivers, so that you're reading the same thing at the same time. You don't have to have a verbal communication, the sight adjustments. It'll be a lot of fun to watch. That's one green team that I'll be following this year, the Jets. I've always sort of liked them, but
you felt bad for them.
Yeah.
Well, let me just throw one stat at the Papalis here, okay? The Jets have never beaten the Eagles, Vince.
Really?
They're 0 for 12. They've never
12?
beaten the Eagles. They play them this year.
Are we going to have a new New York rival?
Well, I'm just saying, maybe the Jets. I'm sure certain people I'm sure a lot of these players don't know, but I'm sure certain people in the organization, including the owner Woody Johnson, might revel in that fact. Maybe it's about time we turn that around.
Well, my 4 years with the Birds, we played the Jets once in a regular season game, and Wilbert Montgomery ran a kickoff back for a touchdown, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But no, we didn't. They didn't beat us then. Well, why don't we do this? Let's go back a little bit in time,
okay,
and talk about you. And you left your Cherry Hill, and we were sort of neighbors over there in the Cherry Hill area. And Vinny was playing his football, but I understand that when you get in high school, you've done more than just football. Track guy and basketball. What of all those 3 sports you participated in? What was the one that you really thought about the most and wanted to excel in? And who were you rooting for back then?
Well, I was born in Pittsburgh, Vince, and my dad and mom were both from Pittsburgh. So growing up, I was a Steeler fan. It just so happened, when I fell in love with football, the Steelers were the team to beat in the 70s. They turned things around. So Chuck Noll, Terry Bradshaw, I mean, I knew all those guys. But I also lived in Minnesota for a while. I was a vendor for the Vikings. So I knew Fran Tarkenton and Chuck Foreman and all those guys. So I was a fan of the game. I loved Johnny Unitas. Johnny was from Pittsburgh, Western PA. I loved the Colts growing up. I loved Johnny Unitas. He was my favorite player. So I had a kind of variety of teams, but growing up, I played basketball. That was my first love, Vince, honestly. I loved basketball. We won a Long Island championship when I was in high school. What's that?
How tall were you back then?
I stopped growing at 6'4", but I was skinny. I was 180 pounds, just a drink of water. But but basketball, that's what we all did in New York. We all got in shape for football, playing basketball. We played summer league all throughout the summer. We hit the courts at night. I mean, but it did take long before I realized that there weren't going to be a whole lot of scholarships coming my way playing basketball. Not like there was playing football. So, I just had it.
Yeah.
But you were if I heard it correctly or read it correctly, you were a track guy too, right?
Yeah, I ran track. I mean, they told me if you want to play football, if you want to compete in basketball, you got to get faster. So track coach convinced me to go out. I played. I did the high jump, the half mile. I did some
I was
things.
going to say the half mile. You kidding me?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't very good, Vince, but I ran it. You know,
You were just
um,
out there for participation.
I was just out there, Gabby. I was
Yeah.
trying. I was
No,
doing my
I-
sprints every day. I was trying to get faster. Like I
Yeah.
don't know how much it helped, but
But it helped. Seems to have helped a little bit. You had a pretty solid career
Oh
after
yeah,
that.
I mean,
yeah,
you did
Yeah.
get into
did
the
all that.
NFL, so that might have something to do with it. And I'm sure they noticed your speed. All right,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Gab. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just kind of jumping on in there.
Yeah.
I wasn't really going anywhere great with that. But you did mention that you were at well, I know that you went to Naval Academy for a hot minute, and so but didn't know why. And so it stems from your dad's background. So you went in, and then what happened?
Well, so my dad was an All-American at the Naval Academy, and all I heard growing up was the Naval Academy.
Yeah.
And how great it was, and how good it was for him. And so I did. I was the oldest boy, oldest of three boys. So I was sort of kind of told at an early age just where you're going. And literally, Gabby, like sometimes you love your father, but sometimes you have to go against your dad. And I went down there. I
Preaching to the
lasted 3
choir.
days. Like I lasted. Close your ears, Vince. I lasted 3 days, and I just knew it wasn't for me. I just knew it. Like there wasn't anything against the academy. I'm all for the
Yeah.
academy, but I felt like I had enough discipline in my life. Like I could get myself out of bed. I knew what I wanted to do. I was a good student. Like I felt like more discipline wasn't going to make me any more disciplined
Yeah.
or any better. And honestly, even though I wasn't very talented at that age, like I dreamed about playing pro football when I was in high school. I just did. And I felt like, if you go to the Naval Academy, I knew Roger Staubach, he had to wait 5 years before he went to play for the Cowboys, even though the Cowboys drafted him right out of the Naval Academy. He had to wait 5 years. And I'm like, I can't wait 5 years. And so I made this gut wrenching decision, didn't make my dad happy. And so I was like, it's just not for me. I went to junior college for a year, played football, played basketball, got a scholarship to Duke out of there.
Yeah, but you're all conference wide receiver when you were in junior college.
I played junior college. I played wide receiver, tight end, Vince. I was growing. I loved it. My junior college was the best thing that happened to me, Vince.
Really? Yeah.
In fact, the junior college put a lot of NFL players in the pros. Okay,
Yeah.
and the first year they decided, this is a big deal to me. The first year they decided that they were going to have a Hall of Fame wing at this junior college because they put Olympic soccer players and All-American lacrosse players and NFL football players. They put a lot of players at the next levels. And when they decided to put their first Hall of Fame team, I was part of it. And so they wanted me to come back and give a speech. And I told them, I said, look, one thing we all shared in common going to Nassau Community College was none of us wanted to go there, but we all ended up there. We all had a story. So my story was my story. Other guys, it could have been grades. It could have been, things didn't work out. So they came to Nassau and then they kind of rebuilt themselves. They went someplace else.
Yeah,
and
cool.
so, they've had, I don't know, 10, 12 guys go to the NFL. They got a couple guys playing there now. So it was just a good place for me. And I was still growing and kind of figuring out, position and all this stuff. And it led me to Duke, which was a good decision on my part. And I got the education I wanted, but it got me to the next level because I always felt like this. I felt like if you played high school football, you should try to play college football.
Mhm.
And if you play college football, you should try to play in the NFL. Like that seemed like that was just a
That was your
transition that
mindset.
everybody should want to do.
So you get to Duke. Who was it? Was Bill O'Brien your head coach? Was he recruiting you then?
Billy came after, but I went there. Red Wilson was the head coach. He was new,
Okay.
but they brought Steve Spurrier in my second year.
Did
I
he
played
make
3
you?
years at Duke.
Did he make you a guard and a center?
Yeah, he moved me from tight end. He's like, you can't run. You're not fast enough for my system.
I could see
He
Spurrier
moved me to
saying
guard. I
that.
was ticked. I was ticked, Vince.
I bet you
Like
were.
I like Steve a lot.
Yeah.
I'm still very good friends with him and his kids, Steve Jr., all these guys. I mean, I know them
Yeah.
all. But he
Track
moved me to
didn't
right
work
guard,
out.
Vince. Like I thought my life ended. I went from tight end to guard. I'm like,
can't
life
imagine.
can't get any worse than this.
How much weight did you have to put on?
So literally, Gabby, I went to Duke. I was like a 230-pound tight end, and literally
Still
by the
pretty
time
big.
I moved to guard, went to 260. I put on 30 pounds.
That's
You
like
know,
Uncle
first
Denny.
time I had a training table, eat as much as you want. You know, I'd go to the training table, I'd eat 6 pieces of blueberry pie before I'd eat dinner. Like, I grew up in a big house. You know, food went fast. I mean, I could just go. You know, we go out to a barbecue place. I'd see how much weight I could gain at one sitting. You know, so like it was just, you know, it was
How many calories did you eat on average?
this literally, Gabby. We used to go to this one place. It was $6, all you could eat barbecue.
Oh
And they
God.
had a penny scale there, and I would try to gain 7 pounds at every sitting. Like I'd get up, I'd fill myself up. I'd get up, walk around the restaurant, come back, and just eat more.
Did
And
they
so
blacklist you from any of those restaurants for eating too much?
they're still open, Vince. They're still open for business. Bullock's
You
Barbecue
probably would
is still
dry
open
them
and
out of
going.
their everything.
Nah, I always save room for pecan pie, you know, peach pie, whatever. So yeah, like I went from 230 to 260 over the
Good.
course of 2 years or 3 years. So you know, I did what I had to do in order to get myself ready for the next level.
But you got you into the NFL. I mean, did you ever think now? So the draft year comes up, and you get through the draft. Now you become one of these things called the undrafted free agent. And what was it like to get that call from the Cowboys? How'd you get there?
So here's the other part of the story, Vince, is because I went to junior college for a year, I kind of redshirted. So I came out of 1982, same year as my brother Richard, who graduated from Wake Forest. So at that time, Vince, there was 12 rounds, and my brother got drafted by the Giants in the 10th round.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I heard that my brother got drafted by the Giants, I was so ticked, Vince. Like I 12 rounds, you know, none of this was televised. Nobody drafted me, and the Cowboys, you know, they signed. I didn't know it at the time, Vince. They signed 110 free agents. So the equipment manager came to try to sign me, and you know, he gave me a $1,200 signing bonus, and I signed with the Cowboys. And I didn't know that when I went to Thousand Oaks, where the Cowboys trained in the summer, I didn't know there was 125 rookies.
It's like a
I
free
had no
agent
idea.
tryout.
There was literally a tryout, Vince.
That's like a real all-comer.
It was like, you know, summer 1976 for you, Vince. It was
Yeah,
like,
it's
okay,
wild.
did they just sign everybody off the street to see if they could find somebody? But you know, they kept 6 rookies that year.
Wow.
We were a good football team. I was one of the 6, and I was the only one of the 110 free agents that made it. So I told
Really?
myself when I went there, I said, look, I'm not even unpacking my bags. I'm wearing the same thing every day. And if they cut me, like my sisters were living in Long Beach, California. I'll just hitchhike down to Long Beach with my bag, you know, and I'll just get on with my life. But they're going to have to throw me out of here. I'm not changing I'm wearing the same shirt every day, wearing the same shorts every day until they just get sick of me.
I was
Yeah.
saying, did you stink?
Yeah. Well, I didn't care.
He's
Like,
a
Wait, so
lineman.
why
yeah,
do you
it
think
did,
that
it
you
did, it
made
did, Gabby. It stunk, but I didn't care.
Oh, sure it did. Wait, but so why do you think that you made it? Like what you out of 110, you were
So
unlikely you were gonna make it.
So it was, you know, I was the ultimate long shot,
Yeah.
but we were kind of like the dummy squad, right, Vince? You know, like practice squad guys for the starters, right?
Out of pride in
So
that practice.
I
squad.
told them, put me at left guard. I want to play left guard. I want to go up against this guy, Randy White, who was
Yeah.
the perennial defensive tackle in the league at that time. He was 8-time Pro Bowl guy. He was the best defensive tackle in football. Let me go up against the best guy every day. Like, let me just find out. Like, you know, I'm either going to get better, get my butt kicked, or I'll just get thrown. So I fought Randy White every day in practice. Every day. I didn't take anything from him. Like, I didn't take anything off him. He was always testing you. And then I was coming into a meeting room, like about the 4th week of this stuff. We were just getting ready to start games. And the defensive line coach, who's a Hall of Fame coach, Ernie Stautner, he just grabbed my arm with one of his meat hook hands. And he said to me, he just said this. He said, "Hey, kid, they're talking about you."
Oh,
Like, you know, the defensive line,
All
they
you
were like,
needed.
they knew like this guy was a fighter. He was like a little different. And I still remember Vince, like Ernie telling me that. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing. Like, I'm going to keep going.
You know, it's a funny thing to say that because I was going head to head with Herm Edwards back in the day.
Yep.
And Dick Corey was my coach, and his son came out every day and he would tell me, and he said, Vince, they're talking about you. They're talking about you. And that's all I needed. And then Dick Vermeil would, so, I got goosebumps because it
Yeah.
reminds me of the same thing that happened to me years ago.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing?
Like it's still
Yeah.
like I got emotional, but it still resonates with me. Like they were talking, like I was making it, like I was making them talk about me.
Yeah.
And so that was the moment when I thought maybe, and then we played. No rookies played in the first preseason game, right?
Yeah, sure.
So back then, veterans, they got themselves ready to play. But the second preseason game, we're playing. I'll never forget. We're playing the Chargers in San Diego, and the offensive line coach told me, he said, "I want we'd have to. We took this test, right? And you had to fill out every single, what your assignment was on every play against every front. So I took the test. He said I did well in the test. He goes, look, I'm putting you in. You're going to play. I didn't know that I was going to be the first rookie in the game. So they put me in there with all the stars. They're the only rookie. They took out the all-pro left guard, and they put me in his place. And I went out there, and I made a mistake right away. And, it's like, and, the guy that I replaced came up to me, Herb Scott. He said, Baldy, look, I'll tell you what you did. Just get off. So he fixed my mistake. And I played with the veterans that very first game. And that was kind of like the start, and then it kind of built and snowballed from there.
That's the parallels, because I had that same situation my rookie year against the Miami Dolphins, and coach said, you're starting tonight.
Yeah.
With all the other veterans.
Yeah.
I was the starter. Carmichael was he was a little banged up.
Right.
So Vinny, you're starting. And there you go. Yeah, all you need is just that shot,
You need that shot, man. You need
And
that
to
shot.
know that somebody like that, all your hard work is that it's being noticed, and then to have somebody just be like, right, were you at that point almost when you were like, what's even the point? And then or were you, no matter what, whether he said that or not, were you still gonna go, kind of balls to the wall? I don't care. I'm still gonna keep fighting.
No, Gabby, literally, I tried to win every single drill. Conditioning at the end, I try to win every conditioning drill. I never ever went in the training room. If I had, my neck was all messed up from neck burners, whatever, I just iced the neck in my room at night. I didn't want anybody to see me hurt. I never went in the training room except to get the ankles taped. I never really, I was just in my own bubble. I was on a mission, and if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. But I wanted to make sure that I didn't give them any reason to cut me. None. I didn't want them, and I'll never forget, even at the end, nobody really knew who was making it, not making. We finished the last preseason game on a Saturday, and everybody was going to find out on Sunday whether you made it, didn't make it. All the rookies were living in this hotel, and I got a call from our general manager, Gil Brandt, and he calls me, and he's a little, cryptic. He's like, what are you doing for dinner tomorrow night? Meaning Monday.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I don't have any plans. I'm just in a hotel. And he goes, you're not getting my drift. I go, well, what are you talking about? He goes, well, we're inviting you to dinner because you've made the team.
Whoa.
All the rookies are going to dinner.
Cool.
So that's the way they did it.
Oh, that's so cool. Did you cry?
Well, I didn't cry, but you know what I did? I was so excited that we were staying in this hotel across the street from SMU. And I just felt like the reason why I got there was because of hard work. And literally, when I got that phone call, I didn't even call my mom and dad at that point. I literally put my sneakers on and gym shorts and sweats, and I went across the street and I just did these sprints at SMU. I was like, that's what got me here. I'm not going to change. I'm going to stay with it. So I literally worked out before I even called my mom and dad to tell them that, that I had made the Cowboys.
How about that?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I can still feel your emotion, your passion, and that's that's awesome. I feel like you guys are very similar, and I didn't even know that.
Well, you know what's funny? I think I remember Vince. Remember when Brian Finneran was a rookie with the Eagles?
Yeah.
I do.
Remember, and he dropped the pass in one game, and they cut him. I remember I took him, I was good friends with Brian, his wife, the whole family. And I remember I loved Brian so much. And I remember when they cut him, Springsteen was in concert that literally that night. I said, you're coming to concert with me, Brian. And I took him and his wife. We went to a concert, and I said, you're going to play in this league a long time. I remember you worked out with them, Vince. I'm only
every
only
day.
bringing that story up because I feel like we both kind of look at free agents like us, long shots like us. Even when I was at the Jets today, I'm looking at this one receiver and I'm going, I think this kid's got a chance. Like nobody knows anything about him. He didn't run a fast time at the combine. He wasn't drafted. Like he's down the totem pole. But there he is after practice, working like for an extra half hour today. And you could just tell Aaron Rodgers likes him. You just know it. I kind of feel like you look at those kind of guys the same way.
Well, Brian's kids went to the same preschool that Gabriella went to, and our son Vinny,
Oh,
he's
okay.
chasing the dream. And so after he got cut, we felt so bad. So actually, he started working with us in our real estate construction team.
Okay.
And every day I made him work out, and then and he eventually got through it, and he goes out to Atlanta, and he connects with Atlanta, and look at him now. It's just a beautiful thing.
That's a great thing.
People make an impact on your life. So the Cowboys now you're moving on to the Colts. You got the Bills, you got the Eagles, and did you unpack your bags for any of those teams, or and what happened with the Cowboys?
Yeah, well, I got hurt. The Cowboys, like in the late '80s, we were kind of like on a downward spiral. We weren't drafting well, and you know, um, anyways, I had gotten hurt in 1987, missed some time, had a knee operation, and it
Ooh,
was the year of the strike, Vince.
oh,
So it was just an odd year in Dallas, and
you're
so literally, I'll never forget. I was on a trip with my brother and some friends. We were like literally in like Thailand, and I find out that the Cowboys aren't going to bring me back, and blah blah blah. And, there wasn't cell phone service or anything like that. So so I called Tom Landry's secretary, and I just said I didn't want to just be released. Like I wanted to reach across the desk and thank Tom Landry for giving me an opportunity. And I remember I was in like Hong Kong. I had a suit made. I go, this is a suit just for Coach Landry. Like I just want him to know that the 6 years I just spent were the best 6 years of my life, and that whether I play any more football or I'm done, I just wanted to thank him for the opportunity. So I did. I got a meeting with Coach Landry, and he was always like a little standoffish to players, but he gave me 2 hours, man. I had a great conversation with him,
right.
and I just felt like, okay, this is how. Whenever I get released or a company is not going to bring me back, this is how I want to do it. I want to like reach across the desk and just thank them for the opportunity. And so everywhere I went, like I went to Buffalo, and like I went to Indianapolis. I started 4 years. Things didn't work out the next year. I went to Buffalo. Marv Levy had to cut me. I remember going, Marv, like you're coach, you're in your Super Bowl run right here. I just hope you get back and win one.
Well,
And
wasn't your brother Gary there?
yeah, my brother wanted. That's why I went to Buffalo. My brother was there and wanted to play with my brother. He was a defensive lineman for him. He went to I don't know, 2 or 3 Super Bowls with the Bills. They didn't win them, but he was
So cool.
backing up Bruce Smith and all these defensive linemen there. So it didn't work out, but getting released by Buffalo got me to Philly, and so I ended up playing my last 3 years with the Eagles.
Yeah,
Best city ever.
Yeah,
Kind of
it
like
was
a
great.
hometown. Wait, so I have a question though, because I saw something about when you were with with the Colts, they said you were like the lightest offensive lineman on the team. What was light?
I walked in, so I had a choice, Gabby. I could have signed right before camp with either Indianapolis or Houston. Jerry Glanville was coaching Houston. I saw him down there. I went and visited. It was literally 110 degrees in Houston. It was like unbearable. And I saw in just like mini camp, the way that he was working, I was like, you're gonna kill us, man. And that's what Jerry did. And I went to Indy, and Ron Meyer was a coach there. But I walked in like the week before I started training camp, and I looked at their offensive line. They're all lifting weights. They didn't have any guy under 310 pounds. Like they were just the biggest group of people I ever saw. And I was like, all right, well, I got some catching up to do. I was like maybe 280 at the time, 285, but I had, I could play a lot of different positions. But like I was like, okay, I got to get a little bigger here to play in this team. I knew that.
What was the
So
biggest you got to then?
I remember when I was in Philly, I got up to 302 one year. Yeah, so that was the most. But I didn't really play it. I played at around 290, 295, which seemed like a good weight for me.
Did you feel like you came home because you'd spent so many years of your life in Cherry Hill across the river? I mean, it was
Vince,
sort
as
of
soon as I
cool.
literally when the Eagles called, and what happened was my offense line coach in Indianapolis came with Rich Kotite, and he became his offense line coach. So he was like, "We need Baldy, man. He can play every position. Blah blah. You know, he's smart. You know, he's a solid veteran. He can help us out." So I came to Philly, and literally, Vince, I went straight to Cherry Hill and rented an apartment in Cherry Hill. Like I knew the city. I knew Walt Whitman Bridge. I knew the vet. Like I just knew my way around. And
Yeah.
so I still had friends in Cherry Hill that I grew up with, that I
Mhm.
went to St. Peter Celestine with, that stayed there. Like I had still friends in Cherry Hill. So I was like, great. I'll just, Ron Heller was living in Cherry Hill. All these guys were living in Cherry Hill.
Oh,
You know,
that we were 25 years in Cherry Hill. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, you know, like to
Nice.
me, I felt like I was right at home.
Oh, isn't
I
that
said,
great?
God bless America, going over that Walt Whitman Bridge practice every day.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
truth.
Like it was honestly, and that team was really good in 1992, Reggie, and you know, we were good. We were a good team. We won a playoff game in New Orleans. I ended up starting like after the sixth game there, and I was the left guard, and Randall and Reggie and Seth and Clyde. Like we were really good. We just got beat by the Cowboys in the playoffs, but that was a lot of fun that year.
And I was doing some string work for ESPN right about that time. And then you flip right from there, and look where you are now. You know, you're
Yeah.
not be an ex-football player in the broadcasting, but you go beyond. You know, I mean, how cool is that to be involved with the game still after so many years, and also to have the respect. I think that's the thing, to have the respect that you have of not only the coaches but the players. You know, I'm sure a couple of guys have called you a legend.
Yeah. No, I mean it's important, Vince. I mean, this is my 42nd year in the business, you know, since I was a rookie. 41st, 42nd year. So I've kept it going. I love it. I still love going. I'm going to see the Cowboys tomorrow in Oxnard, California. I built relationships with, you know, with these young kids via Baldy's breakdowns and things like that. So Micah Parsons is out there. You know, he tells me that he gets in a press conference and the media starts telling him that he didn't play a good game and he didn't do this, and he goes, "Just watch Baldy's breakdowns tomorrow. He'll tell you what I did." All right, he knows what I did. He's in communication, so it's like that around the league. So it's fun, and respect is important. But you know, I always wanted to respect the game more than anything, Vince. You know, like the game's important. I want to respect the game. I want the kids to respect the game. Like I want the game to be healthy. We've all had to make physical changes, you know, so that the game could survive. So to me, it's all about the game. And so it's not really about me. I'm just a conduit, but I want the game to be the most important thing. And when players play the game the right way, like they get my attention.
Mhm.
So I think you had like what, about a year like in between when you ended and then you decided to go into broadcasting. And I know that with a lot of professional athletes, though, they kind of have this period of, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I do know a lot of them try to go into broadcasting and it's not very good. Not everybody's meant for it. But obviously you were, but you know, what was kind of that taking point for you that was like, okay, you know what, this is the direction I'm going to go and I'm going to throw my all into it because football was no longer on the table?
I'm glad you asked that, Gabby. So my last year in Philly, Craig James, who was at ESPN at the time, and he was like their college football, you know, wonder boy, you know, like he was everywhere on ESPN. And so he started this broadcast school in Dallas, and he opened it up to just current players. So me, Mike Golick, Merrill Hodge, we all went. There was like 10 or 12 of us. And it was a week-long kind of an academy thing. And I knew right then, Gabby, honestly, we got good instruction. There were a lot of really good teachers. I knew then exactly what I was going to do. I didn't know how to do it,
Yeah.
but I knew like what I had to do. I started my own radio show. I did the Eagles pregame show at WIP. Like I took a year to try to get it out of my system. I got cut by Arizona. You know, I tried to play. I had an injury, it just wasn't healing. So it took me a year to get it completely out of my system. And then once I did that, like I didn't really care about the money. You know, I sent, you know, letters to all these universities saying I want to be a part of the broadcast team. Bucknell University said, "We'd love to have you, $50 a game. We're in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
Come on."
yeah.
So I got the job. They taped the games. I'd listen to the tape on the way home. You know, I'm not very good. My speech is like a little, so I got help with the speech. And
Yeah.
you know, I started teaching broadcasting or communications with this communications company that kind of taught me the finer points communication. I taught communication to corporations. That helped reinforce a lot of principles about communication, message mapping, and all this stuff. So I did that for 3 years, and supplemented it with Comcast started up, Vince, in Philly, and started working at Comcast, and
Yeah.
then Fox had this league over in Europe, NFL Europe. That's how I met Finneran. They sent me to Europe to do games, and it was a slow build, but literally by the time I got to my third year, I was doing NFL games at Fox,
Isn't that
and
great?
I kind of like made my entry into this whole industry.
And
Do you ever
you
have
got
guys that
a
come
little
to you
bit-
still, like to try and help them and mentor them into getting into that next phase of their career?
I'll do it, Gabby. I will do it. I'll help anybody.
Yeah.
If they're proactive.
Yeah.
If they're just saying, give me a job, help me out, hook me up. Like if I hear that, I'm not that interested.
Yeah.
But if I see a kid like Barrett Brooks, who's in Philly now, he's at Comcast. Barrett came to me when he got done playing with the Steelers, and he's like, I want to get in your business. So I said, well, come over to NFL Films. Me and Sterling Sharp do this show called Playbook. You come, we'll bring you to the studio. We'll show you how we put a show together, Barrett. We'll help you out. We'll do some things. And so when I see guys like Barrett, and there's like 20 other people, girls and guys, when I see how, if they're really interested, if they really want to put the work in, I'll do everything I can for them. So I probably have, I don't know, 20 or 25 people, that have come to me, and we've helped them out and brought them over to my house, brought them over to NFL Films, introduced them to certain people, written letters of recommendation, whatever. I'll help, that next wave of people for sure.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of guys out there that just, or girls that just, I want your job. I'm like, all right, great.
They want handouts too.
Hook me up. When I hear that, I'm like, yeah, that's not how it works.
Well, there's a little bit of a change too, on what you're expected of and what people are expecting of you. The bar's been set too low, but we won't get into that. And I know you had a couple years with our boy Jaws, so that's how he's the best boy. Nobody better
Best,
than
Vince. There's nobody like Jaws. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. But he learned from Dick.
Yeah.
And so Coach.
Didn't we all learn from Dick?
Well, I mean, I think one thing I was just actually telling a story today. Tony Richardson, who played for Dick in Kansas City, he's a fullback. We were telling Vermeil stories today, and the one thing about Dick, as you know, and Gabby knows, like his ability to just maintain relationships throughout his life is unparalleled, and that's what Jaws teaches everybody. It's all relationships. So, he has this golf outing, and 39 years of doing this stuff now, whether it's the sponsors or volunteers, people follow Jaws because like he just knows how to let people know how much he appreciates their help or who they are. And, Jaws was great at what he did, but the way he treated people, the cameraman, the makeup person, whatever, like he treated people so well. And that's why they all respected him. And he learned all that from Dick.
Well, the respect I had for you too. When I saw you last, of course, down in Fort Lauderdale with Kenny Dunnick's Miami Man thing, and when you walked in, it was like, oh, right there's Brian Baldinger, and you weren't waiting for anybody to come up to you. You went and you just walked and you just waded into the crowd like it was a big wave. And just one thing about Dick Vermeil. Every time, and I owe a lot to Coach Vermeil, as you might know.
Sure.
Every conversation I have with Dick Vermeil is the same one I have with Gabriella, with Vinny, and with Janet, and it's I love you,
Yeah.
Coach, and
Yeah.
I love you, Vince. I mean, that's just a guy. He is as sincere as you could possibly imagine. If you could just spend a week with him and the wealth of knowledge that you gain from him, not just from football, but life,
Yeah.
and people, and wine. I mean, just what a guy. Well, we're pretty. I mean, we're going way over time here, but I did have one question, Gabby. I know you have that question, but with this one here.
Oh yeah, your pinkies. Yeah, I want to see your pinky.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's,
I feel like it's a rite of passage.
Yeah, it is that Vince has one. I got it caught blocking Randy White in practice one day, and got it caught in his jersey. Finger got ripped out. I went off the field screaming. They taped it together, get back in there, but the funny part to the story, honestly, is so. The defense line is checking me out, and they're like, "Oh, Baldy's finger just popped out." Okay, so when you came into the cafeteria, that was in morning practice. You come into the cafeteria, the defensive line would sit in the front row, and they literally would just it wasn't necessarily hazing, but they would give everybody the business, you know? And so when I walked down the stairs to the cafeteria that day, the whole defense line in unison, they all stood up and they all just started like, wah, 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 wah. They all just started crying, right? Like imitating me on the field.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like a schmuck, you know, whatever. And then together, like almost together, Randy White, Too Tall Jones, like John Dutton, they all held up their hands and they all have bent fingers. And they all just said like this, welcome to the club. Like,
Isn't that great?
Yeah, you're all one of us now. So I like to that day, I'm like, okay, this is my badge of courage,
Oh,
my
yeah.
badge of honor right here. I'm part of the club. They welcome me to the club. So yes, people, you know, they want pictures with that. There's websites out there, Gabby, with Baldy's pinky. Like I don't shy away from it.
Oh, yeah. I bet people pay good money for that too.
I bet. I bet. Hey, well, look, I've got one last thing because I want you to give a breakdown, you know, because, you know, we were dreamers back then. Gabrielle's dreamer and all of us, you know, Vinny and we've got Janet, you know, from hers and, you know, she wore that USA jersey as a gymnast.
Yep.
And one of my favorite quotes about dreams is happy are those who dream dreams that are willing to pay the price to make their dreams come true. And there's too many people out there that are using, Gabby, you heard this in what we in church the other day, the but factor, not the double T, but the but. Oh, I could have done it, but, you know, the willingness to pay the price. Somebody comes up and they say that they're willing to pay the price to have their dream come true. What's your Baldy breakdown for them to get them ready to have that dream come true? What would you say?
Like every day that you're living your dream, somebody else is quitting on that dream. And every day that they drop out from whatever it is, I mean, if whatever the aspiring goal is, every day that you keep taking a step forward and progressing, somebody else is quitting. Somebody else is making an excuse. And so just the numbers are going to favor you if you just keep plowing forward and you just keep that dream, the focus in your head every day. You're going to get there. You're going to get there. And all these people that are dropping out, all you're going to do is hear those stories about the but. Like we all know them. We all hear it. Oh, I could have made it, but we all know that. But every day that you're in it, living it, breathing it, dreaming about it, like you're getting it one step closer.
I love
Beautiful.
that. I'm ready to run through a wall.
Yeah, there we go. Let's go. Come on. Any things for 77-year-olds? I'm ready.
Oh,
You know,
come on, Vince. Like you're the one that's leading us all down the road right now.
I don't know. This was so great.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you,
was.
Brian. I mean, I know you're a busy guy and you're getting ready to go out to go out to
I know,
Texas.
Vince. I know.
Thousand Oaks,
I had to turn my allegiance in when I came to Philadelphia.
yeah, you know, it's funny. I can't believe it. I'm buddies with Drew Pearson, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, Emmett. Yeah, like who would ever think that? But Gab, anything else, son?
No, this was awesome. I really appreciate it. Actually, wait, yes. So I saw one thing. Do you happen to know the average daily temperature in March in Mars?
I did study this. Yes, I mean, I don't want to share that because then I'm going to sound like a know-it-all right now, Gabby. But yes, it's one of my curiosities. Curiosity, it sort of directs my life. So I ask a lot of questions and I'm looking for the answers. Yes, Google gets a lot of my attention. That's
I
pretty
saw
cute. Good job by you, Gabby.
That's a good one. Well, you're invincible, Brian.
Yeah.
We appreciate you very much, man. Thank you so much, and have a ball. We'll see you around town. I know I'll see you in Philly at some point or down here in Florida. So,
Well, enjoy Jupiter, Vince. I have yet to be up there, but I feel like I know half the community up in Jupiter.
well, when you
Everybody
get
seems
up
to be
there,
moving there at
you
some
know,
point.
you know we're going to show you a good time.
All right. I'll see everybody. Thanks for having me. I appreciate
Thanks
it.
again. Safe travels tomorrow.
See you, everybody.
See you, bud.
Bye.
Bye.